I've heard you say a number of times, plus I interviewed Alan, who I know you work with, and you guys have said that growth is very uncomfortable. And it's so funny because the first place that my brain goes is like, well, way to sell it. No one's like, yes, sign me up for the discomfort train, like
No.
all aboard. You know what I mean? But I understand that the pain of staying the same or staying stuck or staying in your own limitations or lack or whatever that flavor is for you is more painful than the pain of the growth. So, the first place I want to go is, do you remember that moment for you personally that pain was just like no longer bearable and you dove headfirst into the work that you had to do and the work that you do now?
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's like trying to sell kale outside of a candy store, it's not it's
Totally.
not sexy. It's not fun. People are not very drawn to even like our social media and things. We're very lucky to be super successful almost behind the scenes. We have so many clients because the work that we do is so important. As you know, you've been on this journey for 10 years. You understand how valuable this work is. And personal development needs to come along with success, or you're going to hit a ceiling at some point. But no, it doesn't sound overly fun and exciting when we talk about it. But we believe in candor. We believe in transparency and disclosure. And I can't tell you how many times we've seen people drop off of this journey because it got hard or because it got uncomfortable. Their reasons are either it's a problem with them, they're doing it wrong. That's why it doesn't feel good, or the work itself is not right. It's not worth it. And both of those are inaccurate. I deeply feel that this journey needs to have that almost disclosure to it so that you know when you're in that hard moment or when you hit what we call lonely land. I'll tell you about that through my own personal story. That's normal and it's okay. And you're not doing it wrong and that you should keep going. It probably means you're doing something right. But like you said, when you're looking at that internal stuff, especially the stuff that's holding you apart from your goals, your dreams, your personal version of success, it doesn't feel good, but it's so valuable because when you understand what's running you unconsciously, which always never feels good, and start taking conscious control over it and working with it alongside it in an empowered way, you get to go where you want to go. And yeah, it's fun and exciting work sometimes. And it feels momentous sometimes, but there's also this deeper, darker side to it that I think we need to highlight more because people get so sad and stuck there. But in reality, I love celebrating that moment for people. And that's what we're all about. So we're very much about transparency, but no, it's the unsexy fundamentals that we talk about. So it doesn't get a lot of sexy hype, but it's valuable and important. And I can show this work even through myself, like you said. Beautiful question, by the way. Thank you. I will use the most recent-ish one in the last few years, partnering with Kevin and Ellen at Next Level University and seeing through the lens of their frameworks and what they were able to teach me that I am someone who has very high self-belief. I have very high self-efficacy. I believe I can make results happen with enough time, energy, and effort, or that I can figure it out in times of uncertainty, or if I don't know how to do it, I'm very comfortable asking for support, searching for mentorship, those things. I have very high self-belief, but I have very low self-worth. And learning that on this journey and what that has cost me and what the situations that has put me in through my life was, yes, highlighting, yes, very informative, but also like, oh, that hurts and that feels gross. So low self-worth is, yeah, you can do the thing, but you don't believe you're worthy of having it. Yeah, you can do the things, but you're going to dim yourself constantly for the sake of other people's comfort. You're not going to have boundaries with others. My personal version of low self-worth is low boundaries and is very low social courage. So I like to dim and play small around others so that they feel good about themselves and they feel celebrated and all of those things, which I still love to do. I'm a natural celebrator. I love highlighting others, but now it's different. I'm not doing it at the unconscious expense of myself. And so I can see in my past where a lot of relationships I had with friends, especially with other women, were because I was a muted version of myself. And as soon as I started expanding and being more socially courageous and holding more boundaries and owning the fact that I am, you know, very talented, very smart, very all of these things, and I'm only going to get more because I grow every day. I'm such a growth oriented person. that creates a lot of ripples in your life. It creates a lot of ruffles in the feathers of the people that benefit from you being less than. And that feels terrible because the first few times that happens, you want to be like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're right. I don't need to hold that boundary. Nope. No, that feels terrible. But you were saying this when you opened, it's leaning into that short-term discomfort for the long-term peace of it all, for the long-term success in that. And I think right now as a society, we are the opposite. We will constantly avoid short-term discomfort and just allow it to compound into major problems and major discomfort later. It's that short-term discomfort of, oh, I need to have this uncomfortable conversation with my spouse, but maybe I won't. And so then weeks later, you're going to blow up and maybe cause irreversible damage. It's that. And you can do that in anything. You can do that with your health. Oh, I have this pain right here, but it's okay. I'm going to keep running through it. Now you blow through your knee and you're on crutches and maybe you need surgery. Short term discomfort of taking a break, going to some physio, whatever that looks like, is going to save you that long term result. And so, where can we embrace short term aligned discomfort for the sake of that growth and peace and success?
It's interesting because the place that I see this play out a lot is like the playground when we all want to, here's a snack, here's the cookie, here's a this, say you're sorry. It's like, to me, I just love being out in the wild and listening to the way we speak to our children and try to appease them or reroute them or divert them from the present moment. And I mean, I'm saying it a little silly, but if I'm really honest, like, I think it's atrocious. And, I think, people don't know, right? So people, I hope, are showing up doing the best they can in the moment. And, it's like there's also the internet. Like, you can Google, like, ways to help a toddler solve conflict and, like, learn how to do it in 5 minutes with practice, consistency, and repetition. And so it's interesting, as we grow into adults, we are really drawn to dopamine and those quick, easy hits that we get from the snack or the like or the, insert your thing here, because there's so many things available to us, ways of coping, when we don't want to feel that discomfort. And then we just get used to it. And then we kind of live our lives on autopilot, not sometimes realizing. Enter awareness and this really strong sense of knowing who you are, knowing, like you so vulnerably shared, your challenges, that you have a challenge with self worth. And so, how do we start that process of inner reckoning, let's call it, or that, like, really falling in love with ourselves, like the good, the bad, and the ugly, but just like knowing who we are.
Yeah, and even that romantic thought of falling in love with yourself, it sounds like a good time. It sounds like a great journey, and it is, but it's also very hard because first you have to recognize where you don't love yourself, and you have to own the fact that that is true for you. And you have to have acceptance around the fact that that's how you've been treating yourself. That's deeply what you think, feel, believe about yourself, because that's when you can actually start healing. And that sucks. That sucks. It's not fun. It's not fun to say, oh, yeah, no, I actually hate certain parts of myself. And that is what's keeping me small. And I have to look at why that is and where that came from and what that has been doing to my life so that I actually feel the pain enough of not wanting to do that anymore in the future. It's actually really valuable to look at what it has cost you so far to be able to recognize, I don't want to lose that again in the future. I don't want to miss those kind of opportunities again in the future. I don't want to be the person that gets walked all over again. And it's because I allowed people to treat me a certain way. We always want to, yes, chase the shiny object. I love that you brought dopamine into that. Easy dopamine is a curse of our age, unfortunately, but there is also deeper, meaningful journeys to dopamine. And one of them is momentum of consistent action over time. It's you get clarity. Clarity creates certainty. Certainty creates action. Action creates dopamine, which creates the momentum. That's the one you want. But the certainty and the clarity part can be uncomfortable. It really can, because you have to get clear on where you've messed up, on where You need to take ownership. And I think there's another, epidemic nowadays of, oh, it's someone else's fault. We see a lot of that either victim archetype or the villain archetype. The victim is, I can't be helped because I suck. I can't be helped. I can't find the solution. I can't because it's me. I'm the problem. The villain is someone else is the problem. It's not me. I'm fine. Someone else is the problem. Someone else is the reason I get treated that way. Someone else is this. And it takes radical ownership to be like, no, you allowed them to treat you that way. You taught them how to treat you, and that sucks. I'm not saying it doesn't suck. I'm not saying that they're not pieces of crap for being that way, but where do you have to have the ownership for where and why that took place? And that doesn't feel good. But it's so empowering when you come out the other side, because then you recognize that, oh, you actually have control over that. And now that you understand that, it won't have to happen again. And that's the exciting
Yeah.
part. That's the eventuality that you get to look forward to from this uncomfortable work.
Do you think the work ever stops, or do you think you'll be like 80, like still kind of like talking about the work, like beating the drum? Like, do you think we get to a point in our lives where it's like, okay, like I've explored quite a bit. I've dove deep into my psyche and my emotional patterns and my limitations. Are there seasons for it? What's your take on that?
Yes to all of it. It depends on the person. So me, myself, I'm absolutely going to be that person in the old folks home being like, so did you read something amazing today? What are we learning? But
Yeah.
that's who I am. My natural tendency is a growth oriented person. People fall into different categories. There's people who arrive and people who strive knowing that they're never going to get there. I know that my growth, I'm never going to reach the highest version of myself. I'm actually never going to get there because there's always something. I have had a lens on for high self-worth for the last couple years. And the more you do that, the more you realize that you actually don't know and there's more to do. It's a funny little paradox that happens. The more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And unfortunately, the less you know, the more you think you do. It's a weird little paradox, but when you start seeing it, you start seeing it everywhere. You're like, oh, right. So even just to macro zoom out into two major buckets that you can categorize all humans into, if they're growth oriented or relationship oriented. Are you growing for the sake of growth, or are you growing for the sake of the community that you belong to or the relationship you belong to? Are you holding on to because of the social aspect? So like a really good example, it's none of them they're not right or wrong. So a really good example is my husband and I. I'm growth for the sake of growth. If him and I separated tomorrow, let's say, I would still continue to grow. He's not naturally wired that way. He grows for the sake of the relationship. He values me, he values our family, he values our life together, and he values being the man that he can be for the sake of his children and myself. So they're not wrong, they're not negative, but he's motivated by this, I'm motivated by this. So again, the more self-awareness you have, and the more you can self-identify where you are in these categories that we can talk about, the more empowered you are to understand your wiring. Because at the end of the day, yes, it's exciting to grow and expand, but if you're not also understanding how you're hardwired and learning to navigate that in an empowered way that is actually aligned for you rather than just, a petulant child unconsciously driving the bus of your life and your brain, it's amazing because some things are a part of us forever. Our core values, our core wound, especially, that's just something that's in there for you. And you need to learn what that is and what that does for you. And by need, I mean, if you don't have goals and it's not messing up your life and you don't care, you don't need to do anything. But if you have goals and it's going against your goal, then yes, you need to heal that. No one needs to do anything. But if you're, you know, caring about those kinds of things, that's a big one. That's a big one, your core wound, because it never goes away. So my unlovable core wound is why I have low self-worth, is why I value relationships and try and do whatever I can and be whoever I need to be for the sake of not losing relationships. That's my wound. And so I need to know that about myself. Am I consciously doing this, or is unlovable Amy trying to drive the bus here, and are we dimming and appeasing for the sake of not losing love? When in reality, if this person walked out of our life right now, would it really matter? What are we doing?
Yeah. And is that from childhood? Like, is
Yes.
that for you? Is that, yes. Okay. And then typically for most people you're coming in contact with, is it something from childhood, like
Oh,
ages
core
0 to
wounds are,
10?
yeah. Yeah, core wounds are
Always.
rooted into us early on. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, it doesn't have to be obvious. So Kevin and Alan, who I work
Mm.
with, their wounds and things are obvious. Their childhoods were so different from mine. I am so blessed in my child. My parents are still together and they're a huge part of our life. They live up the road. We're all Great, they gave us
Mm.
an amazing life. I grew up in a home of love. You can still be messed up. You still have core wounds. And again, it can be from even moments that are unconscious. So let's say my dad worked as a railroader. And so on even important days, let's say he would get called in and within an hour he'd have to be out the door and heading out on a train for a few days. And so that was his job and that was his, responsibility and gift to our family. But when I'm a kid and I say, but dad, we're supposed to go here today, and he leaves, and I just see that from a wounded kid space, as an adult, I'm like, yeah, man, good for you. Way to be. But as a kid, you're like, daddy doesn't love me today. Right. So you're wounded from a child brain, and child brains don't understand the vastness of the world and how things work. And so sometimes it's not very obvious. And I used to say all the time, well, I had a great childhood, so I'm fine. No, yes, I had a great childhood. No, I still definitely have things to work on. Right.
So I heard you on another podcast where this host, she was like fighting for her limitations. And it's like a little bit like kind of like a real time coaching sesh, but she's like telling you all the excuses of why she's not doing the thing. She knows she should do the thing, but she's not doing the thing because this, that, and this. And I was listening and I'm like, and not from judgment, because please, like, we have all done this. Like, I have done this. I get it. So, why do you think there is such a gap between knowing, the choice is there, the empowerment is there, the happiness, like everything we need is like here, it's inside, but then doing the choices and the actions that will actually bring us closer to the goal, the thing we say we want? Why does that gap seem tremendous, and why do we fight for those damn limitations that we have?
We fight for them because we've needed them at some point. Everything we're doing is a protective mechanism. Everything. Everything we're fighting against that's holding us back as an adult served us as a protector at some point when we were younger. And so it's wired into us to be like, oh no, I need this thing. I need to respond this way. I need to act this way.
So wait, our brain is literally saying like, this is keeping you safe. This is keeping you
Yes.
safe. Like it's a subconscious program just looping.
Yes, always. Always.
Wow.
It's not actually trying to sabotage you. Your brain is for you. It's for you. But have you rewired it into being for who you are now and the things you want now versus the wounded self or the traumatized self or the reason that protector had to be there in the first place? Unless you involve your brain with it, it's always going to be there trying to keep you safe, trying to hide you from things that make you feel shame. So you suppress or you lash out or you get defensive or all sorts of things. And so the gap, and this is where it's a little hard to actually talk about on podcasts versus with one-on-one, because one-on-one you can assess the gap individually and you can assess, okay, your gap between the internal work and the external action is because blank. Like becomes very obvious when you understand this work on the individual. But for a macro aspect, so we can help the masses, it's okay, identify what are you better at? Are you better at the external results and taking action? Or are you better at the internal work and not taking the action? We each have a comfort zone. And some of us are out here just taking massive action and avoiding avoiding the internal work. But what happens is it's like 2 feet on the same body. Eventually you're going to start running in circles if you're just doing 1 foot. You need to be doing both. And again, need is based on if you have goals or not. But it's that. And so where is your comfort zone? Are you about action or are you about internal work? What makes you feel more safe? What makes you feel more comfortable? And how do you do this? It's like people who want a therapist probably typically need a coach, and people who want a coach typically need a therapist.
Oh, that's good. Because a coach drives you to action and a therapist has you look within.
Coach or a really good therapist, they're going to help you do both. But I find that to be a rarity for sure. And so
Uh-huh.
we're big believers in both. NLU as a through line, we all habit track. Everyone on the team habit tracks, everyone we coach habit tracks, because it's so valuable to see where you're at every day and what
Yeah.
you're working towards, and to reverse engineer the goal into a daily action that you can compound over time. But typically, so let's just say the action is just a struggle with consistency. Everyone struggles with consistency at something. So I'm excellent at consistency in my children, my work, and things. I was really struggling with consistency in fitness was one of mine years ago. And there was a bunch of reasons for that. I had a lot of limiting beliefs. I grew up very sick. So I grew up with this belief that my body is this broken piece of garbage, and that when I did try and work out, I would actually hurt myself. My inflammation would kick up. It was a whole problem. I was like, "Oh yeah, this isn't meant for me because I can't do it." When in reality, I was constantly going from 0 to 10 and expecting my body just to be able to adjust, which it wasn't. I was never going from 0 to 1. I used to struggle with perfectionism. There was no messy action. There was no progress over perfection. It was, I'm going to do this 30-day hard intensive or nothing at all. When in reality, that's not very accurate. So, consistency, you can break down into 5 components. And typically, there's people who are, you're always someone's good at something and really terrible at another thing in those 5 things, and they're kind of okay at the others. And so, the first one is belief. You need to believe what it is that you're committing to doing every day. So, let's keep using my fitness journey. So, belief in, Alan asked me, well, do you think you could go to the gym every day for an hour? Absolutely not, man. No, absolutely not. Are you kidding me? No.
Like, that's a
I
little aggressive,
Yeah,
like,
don't go
back
to the gym,
off.
first of all. I live
Right.
on a dirt road in a small town that doesn't even have a gym. I homeschool my kids, like, even just the scheduling alone and the commute is a nightmare. So that 0% belief there. I have 0% belief that I can make that happen. So that's not the action to start taking. 0%. So we molded. Okay, well, do you think you can work out from home every day? I said, yeah. He said, do you think you could do it for an hour? I was like, again, Ellen, my life, right? Full. And so this, and do you think you could weightlift every day? I'm like, no one should be weightlifting every day. Maybe you, bodybuilder bro, but like for women, our cycles, and I'm
Not
very
women.
much
Yeah,
in
totally.
tune with all of that. And so again, we're educating each other, we're going back and forth. And then you come down to, okay, do you believe that you can move your body in an aligned way every day for 30 minutes? That's my belief spot, because it doesn't pigeonhole me into a certain activity every day, but it's measurable enough because it has the 30 minutes to it. That's going to come in handy. That's really important later on. But so we had to find my level of belief first. So many people don't have the assessment tools for the belief aspect. So they're like, okay, January 1st, I'm going to start going to the gym 5 days a week. Okay, 2 weeks in, you're dying and you're going to convince yourself it's not for you. Don't do that. It takes humility. That's step 2, is humility. You need the belief in the thing, and then you have to have humility, that self-accuracy, that self-awareness of, I've never been able to do this consistently. So I'm not going to jump from 0 to 10. I'm going to jump from 0 to 0.5 if I have to. And that was humble to be able to say, okay, 30 minutes is a stretch, but I can do it. I believe in it. Humble in a way of, I'm not, especially for Alan, and when he gets on with certain people, they want to inflate and impress him. So it's, oh yeah, of course I can go to the gym for an hour every day. Absolutely. I am that person. Humility is, no, Alan, I'm not that person. I'm not that person. And Alan's my coach. He's our CEO at Next Level University, and he's amazing. And so that was the humility moment. The next is the sustainability piece. Number 3 is sustainability. You need humility to make a sustainable choice. Sustainability was 30 minutes. I would never have been able to sustain an hour. Over time, you can build up to more. If you're all of a sudden going from no emails a day to saying, I'm sending 20 emails a day, that's not sustainable on average for the average person. You need to start with 5. And it's good to have a measurable thing, though. You want to be able to check off, yes, I did the 5. Yes, I did the 30 minutes. We want to be able to keep track. So there needs to be a measurable number component to it. But how can you be humble and start sustainably, trusting that you're going to build it into your identity enough to be able to build upon it later? And then the next one, number 4, is it's adaptability, but it might as well be called grace. If you are not adaptable in your thing that you are trying to do every day, you're never going to be able to be consistent at it. It can't look perfect every day. Life is wild. There are reactive things all the time. There's only so much we can be proactive in, and then something goes off the rails. A kid gets sick, the chicken escapes, whatever. My life is like that. But it's, there's things that come up, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I didn't get my workout in this morning because of XYZ. Well, adaptability says, okay, you're going to have to do it later, and it's okay if it didn't look the same as it was going to this morning. It's okay if you go for a walk with the kids tonight instead of getting in your, weights that you were going to do this morning. There's adaptability that needs to happen. What is your check the box version of this daily habit that you've committed to? Because sometimes you're going to have 100% to give to this thing, bang it out of the park on that day. But if you want to be consistent at something and you want to leverage the compound effect, you need to have a check the box version. so that you can leverage the compound effect. Consistency doesn't look perfect every day. It's actually really messy, but you need to be able to get it done every day to be consistent, to leverage the compound effect. And that's why number 5 is grit. There are still days where your day's going to go off the rails and you haven't done your thing and it's just about bedtime and you're going to have to pull in grit. You're going to have to pull in that F my feelings moment and say, yeah, it's not going to look perfect, but I still have to do that check the box version and you have to go do it. Grit is so important when it comes to consistency. Yes, there's grace to be given, but grace and grit go together. Grace for what's happened in the day, grit to get it done anyways. And what's really amazing is when you grit it out and you do the thing you didn't want to do, the cycle starts again and you build more self-belief. Doing it when you don't want to do it builds self-belief. And now you're at the beginning of the star again. Can you expand? Sorry, it's called a star. It's a consistency star. It has 5 points. But now you're feeding it. It's a cycle. It's not something that you start and finish. It is a cycle forever that expands over time. And if you're running that, you can expand that. My fitness journey has completely expanded in the years that I've been able to keep this up. But it's because I started very sustainably and with these principles in mind. With these principles in mind, I have been able to do over 1,300 days of moving my body in some sort of way. That would never happen if it didn't count if I just did low stretches and light mobility on the days where I've been sick, let's say. I'm going to get on the floor. I'm going to honor my body anyways, but we're just long form stretching because I feel like crap. But I get to check the box. And I've built such an identity of someone who can move their body every day over that time that now it bothers me to not do it. And having a streak is really important. That's a good brain hack as well, because once you get like 30 plus days in, you're like, oh, I'm not going to break my streak because I don't feel in myself or as good today. I'm going to go out and just make it happen and do something small, whatever it is. And you start to build an identity of someone who believes that they can do something every day, even when it's hard. And that's a really important piece of holistic success, is that belief.
And there's that dopamine right back
And
at
there's the dopamine.
there it is. There it is. So this is the self-generating dopamine
Yeah.
machine. You heard it here first, folks. Okay, so 1,300 days. I had to start doing the math in my head. I'm like, that's like 4 years. Is that right? Three years? How many years is that?
August 10th of 2022 started that.
You started on that day, and that was like day 1, and you didn't get to day 1,300 without these 5 principles that
Mhm.
you just talked about: belief, humility, sustainability, adaptability, and grit.
Yes.
And so this is the system. This is the blueprint for, I'm imagining, anything someone listening with us right now is wanting to do. So you spoke about exercise. I am on day 400 something something. I don't have the exact day pinned down like you, of a meditation. Yes. And like, it's just so, like, pick a thing, everybody, pick a thing and decide that it's day 1. Come back to these principles. And I have to say here too, I was so happy when you mentioned grace, and also, I guess, the humility piece too. But when you said the word grace, I was like, yes, because during day 400 something, 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 I was sick one day. And it was one of those days where I like woke up and then I was like, checked in with my husband, like, I love you kids. And I was like, I'm going back to bed. Like, I'm so sick. And so I like got up, went back to bed, like woke up at like 11 a.m. I'm like, oh my God, I haven't done this since my 20s. This feels glorious. It was just so good, even though I was sick. But realized the next morning, oh my God, I forgot to meditate yesterday. And I'm like, okay, what do I do? Because here's my actual in real time conversation with myself. Well, I feel like I was kind of hitting a plateau on this meditation anyway. Maybe I want to like switch up my meditation. Maybe I want to be day 1 again today. Do I reset the clock? Do I not reset the clock? Is this out of integrity? And all these like blah, 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 things coming at me. And ultimately, what I decided to do was channel that, what you called grace, what I would call grace as well. I channeled that grace and I went, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to use that grit to keep going. I don't know. I feel like this is a confession all of a sudden. Is that what you're talking about with the grace coming in and like allowing it to, let's call it, not be perfect?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Nothing can be done perfectly consistently. You will never be consistent at anything if you have to give it 100% every day, because you do not have 100% every day, especially as women. Our 100% is so variable. We have such varying capacity just based on our hormone cycle. that is amazing to know and understand and tap into. Talk about being able to give yourself authentic grace, knowing that you are not at your peak mental, physical, and emotional best, but how can you make something happen and feel good about it anyways? There's so much grace to be given, but it always needs to be balanced out with great or with grit, because how many people do you know constantly over grace, over give themselves off, like let themselves off the hook constantly?
True. True. Yep.
And then there's the people who have too much grit, and they're going to burn themselves to the ground. Again, where are you? What end of the spectrum are you on? And how can you reach five? Where's center there?
Yeah. And this to me is bringing us full circle to this self awareness piece, this
Yes.
knowing thyself so deeply that we know if we have a
No.
tendency towards grit. We know if we have a tendency towards like loosey goosey, Gracie girl. So I think that's such a beautiful example of showing that. And I loved doing that confession in real time. Okay. So, for somebody who is just starting to, yes, I want to be more self aware, whether that's someone who's a decade in like me or someone who's like, I'm going to be more self aware starting today, everybody. What is the one question you would prompt them to ask themselves first?
I don't know if there is, because it's so based on the person. For
Yeah.
example, so people who have really high self belief, you have to talk to them in a certain language. You can't talk to people who have low self belief in the same language that people who have high self belief. You're going to do damage. It's going to be extremely detrimental to them,
Interesting.
and vice versa. So I think it's more, I mean, if the question is anything, what is your level of self-awareness and what is the next step? What is
Mm.
my level of self-awareness? And to have humility here. If you've never read a book on it or never gone to a master class or never, I mean, we have free things all the time that people come to. There's free available tools for you all the time. And yes, of course, if you can invest in someone, something, do so. But if you're just starting out, start small, pick a book that speaks to you, pick a podcast, do something, and start doing it every day. Small, 5 minutes, 10 pages, a podcast, whatever that looks like. Start investing in yourself every day, because the more you learn, the better questions you're going to start asking yourself, and the more you're going to start discovering. It's all like the questions you ask yourself is such a superpower to tap into, not only for self-awareness, but something you can start leveraging like later. But it's what is my level of self-awareness? Or you could even go as macro as, what is the state of my life right now?
Ooh.
How do I feel about
Like
it?
State of the Union,
Yeah,
right?
what is it?
Like, what's really going on?
Is it feel aligned? Do I feel momentous? Do I feel fulfilled? Do I feel purposeful, peaceful, passionate? Am I any of these things? No, something's holding you. What is it? Dive in.
Yep.
But it's that
Dive
if
in.
you don't feel good about your life right now, the only thing you can do is control you. What you say, think, do, feel, believe. That's it. We have influence over other things, but the majority of the things we don't have any control over whatsoever. One of them is other people. We have influence over certain people, but we can't control other people. The only thing that you can control is yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, what you say, think, do, feel, believe. And even that's a deep layer. People don't believe they can control their emotions. But it's that. Is your life aligned right now? And if it's not, how can you empower yourself to become better, to make a change?
Yeah. I'm obsessed with questions, like always have been. And now that I'm a podcaster, I find myself like surprising myself with the quality of questions I'm asking. I was at a networking event last night and I came home and I said to my husband, I asked the best questions. He was like, "Oh, tell me more." Like, it's just so fun to like ask stuff. And when I'm in a situation where I feel like I don't know much about this, or I'm like, I'm really unaware or uneducated about this topic, I'll say, can I ask a stupid question? And it's not because I want to be self deprecating, it's because I want the other person to take their guard down.
Mhm.
And I want them to know, like, your answer is safe. I just am, like, coming at you with beginner's mind. And so I think the invitation here for everybody with us is, like, questioning and starting with questioning yourself. And then as you start to ask those questions, like, the habit becomes, oh, what else can I question in life? You said that you homeschool your kids, and I really have to touch on this because I homeschooled my kids for a few years, 2020 to 2023. And as my kids are getting older, my oldest is 11, my youngest is 4, I play with the idea of like those middle school ages, like bringing them back to the nest and doing some project based learning. And I have this very idealized version in my brain of what it's all going to look like. But so I'd love the real life version from you. How old are your kids, and how do you have this what looks like a successful career and a fulfilling career, not to mention? And also, I want to use the word balance. I know you don't necessarily believe in balance, but how do you balance the two of those in real time?
Yeah, it's a hot mess.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay,
There
cool.
is nothing
Perfect.
perfect about my days ever, but I still manage to get it all done.
Yeah.
You know, and some days are harmonious and they're beautiful and they're lovely and they're great and that's wonderful. And some days it's chaotic. It's a
Yeah.
disaster. But as a whole, when you zoom out, it's very fulfilling. It's very so aligned. And so it's that I homeschooling my kids is the epitome of high level winging it. Alan coined that term through witnessing my life. He's like, "You're
I
not just
love it.
winging it." He's like, "It's a high level winging it. You have
High level
there's
wing.
consciousness there and there's skills and there's things." He's like, "But it's kind of a bit of a hot mess." I'm like, "Yeah, because perfection is for the birds." And I tried to live my life that way forever and got nowhere because you can't do perfection every day. It's a disaster. So progress over perfection always. I feel like we've said that a few times, but it's that. No, there is nothing. I mean, my life as a whole, when you zoom out, is absolutely beautiful. Super aligned, very full, very fulfilling. I do all the things that I want to do, and I get to do them well. But on the day to day, there's nothing
It's a
perfect
mess.
about it.
It's
Some days
messy.
our schooling is amazing, and we get lots done. And some days it's like, oh my gosh, let's just stop what you're doing. We're gonna go outside. Let's do.
Everybody out. Everybody
We're
out.
gonna go outside,
Yeah.
and you know what? We didn't get this done today, and now I have to go to work, which is in my
Yep.
basement. It's not far, but and it just has to be that way. It has to be that way. Some days we crush it. Some days it's a mess. Some days we throw, care to the wind and we go to the lake.
Yeah. How old are your kids?
Oh, yeah. 11 and 13.
Okay. Okay, so you're there, like, in those
Yes.
middle school years,
Yes.
and it's 2 boys that you have,
Yes.
right?
I have two boys.
Mm,
Two boys, 11
awesome.
and 13. 11 as of yesterday. We had a little birthday yesterday.
Aw, happy
And
birthday.
thank
Okay.
you. Yeah, my wild little man. He's my curiosity guy. He asks questions about everything, and I love it.
Yeah,
He's Mr.
love it.
Curious. And so, yeah, I mean, it's busy. We've been homeschooling, you know, Maverick, my oldest, he did 1 year of school, and Corbin's never been. And so we've been doing it for a long time, and I've had to learn to let go of what it should look like, and especially any idea of it looking like mainstream schooling, because it can't and it shouldn't and it won't ever. People are like, "Oh my gosh, how do you spend that much time sitting around a table with your kids?" I'm like, "You don't." If you think about how much learning time kids actually have a day in school, it's not very much, because you're doing crafts, you're outside, you're lunching, there's so much going on. There's 30 other kids in the classroom. It's chaos in its own way. And so it's having a vision of what you want to instill in your children, and there are things that I believe that if I can build enough self-belief in my kids and enough curiosity and enough, foundational skills, that the rest they will have the skill to grow later if they want to. So I don't super stress about specific lessons or things. I want to make sure that they are competent, capable, lovely human beings. Because those are the people that can find stuff out at the end anyways. There's a lot of things that I don't know. There's a lot of things that I've had to quickly figure out, even in the career I'm in now, but I believed that I could, so I just took the action and learned it and figured it out.
Yeah.
That's a superpower to be able to do. I don't know anything in the grand scheme of things, but I can, with enough time, energy, and effort, I believe I can figure it out. And sometimes I have
Because
to
you're
lean on
intrinsically
others.
motivated
Yeah,
to find
yeah,
out. Yeah,
yeah. And
totally.
I'm like you. I'll ask a stupid question all day. All the time.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Because there's things that I know nothing about. When I came into this company, for example, I have, a higher level of self-awareness and I'm really good at speaking, and here's my skills I can bring to you. Here's what I don't know. When you talk about technology and Google Sheets and the backbone of our literal company is in Google Sheets and stuff, I'm like, I need you to talk to me like I'm 5. I know nothing.
Tell me like I'm my 90-year-old grandma or a
Yes.
5-year-old kid. Yeah,
Yes. Explain it that way.
Yep.
And yes, I want a gold star if I figure it out at the end because this is hard. I don't understand.
Give me the gold star. I'm a gold star kid too. I'm a gold
Right?
star
It's
kid.
it's that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
again, that self-awareness piece. When you come into a space, own your strengths, but absolutely have the humility to own your weaknesses. People appreciate it. I have never been thought of as less than, except for by arrogant people that I could give two craps about at the end of the day. That I take credibility hits when I ask questions or I say I don't know something from the people that have really mattered in my life. They have seen that as such a gift and such a strength. And I have been nothing but celebrated in my shortcomings because I own them. And I think that's a superpower, but that's a part of self-awareness as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're living in the messy middle here in this show. And this, this, you painting the picture of how your real life actually is without sitting here and saying, like, it's pretty great. Like, sometimes people will skirt around and not want to share that, again, discomfort, the uncomfortable stuff or the stuff that makes us look, honestly, it's just freaking human. And so it's such a testament to the work you do specifically. It's a testament to the work you do at Next Level University. And I know it is a huge, fat permission slip for everybody here to know, like, you can live the life you dreamed of. You can live the life, strive for the life, reach for the life of your dreams. And it still is going to suck sometimes. There are still going to be days that are hard. Like, come on. Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
just
mean, we're all
life.
human. It's such a disaster for your own psyche
Yes.
to think that, the things you see on social media where people wake up on this perfect day, even that, when you see someone filming them waking up to this beautiful morning, they had to get up first and set up the camera and then go back and pretend like they're waking up. What are we doing?
What are we
So
doing?
we have a live event coming up here in it's the first day, so 10 days. I fly down to the States and give my speech on this, and a huge part of it is real world versus social world. Where are you allowing social world to influence your life? And what a mistake, because real world is messy and social world is outside in. Oh, what a
Yep.
disaster that is to maintain and keep up. Real world is inside out. Real world is you doing the inside work first that will eventually show externally. The results I'm having now that show a little more external success is all because of the internal stuff I've done behind the scenes and the work I've done behind the scenes and the unsexy things that you don't get to see regularly behind the scenes. Although we do try and show them because we deeply believe that most of the people, if this is their real world and this is their social perception, the gap is like this. That's not
Yep.
doing anyone any value whatsoever except for feeding your superficial ego of what you think you want people to think your life is. Kevin Allen and myself, I think that's one thing that drew me to them so much is their level of integrity. What you see on their social media, of course, you always just get snippets of people's life regardless. You don't see my, crazy moments and things, but I'm not going to deny that they're there. But the more that you can have your real life and your social perception, that gap be as small as possible, the more fulfilled you're going to be as a human being, the more actual service and help you're going to be able to give to the world. These people who are renting fancy cars and doing these things, none of that is sustainable. They sell their $10,000 course. People realize they're full of crap and they never come back. They're not building real community. They're not building anything of value and of substance in this world. But yet they thought they had to be that way to gain success, which is really, really sad in the first place. So, outwardly, there's a lot of things that Kevin Allen and myself do and portray that are cred hits for our success. Short term, maybe. I drive a minivan and I love it. I love my minivan. Nothing about
So
that says
convenient.
Amy's rolling in money, and I'm not.
Totally.
But it's because
Totally.
it's my finances go to things that I actually value. We have
Right.
things that we spend more money on that mean more to us than our vehicle. But and again, everyone has their likes and dislikes and things. But I'm not showing off flashy things to try and sell you a $10,000 course that says, "Hey, you're going to have my life by the end of this." It's such BS. It is. And we're
Such BS.
surrounded by it. So where can you not only have your own authentic version of a fulfilling life that takes time to build, and you're always going to continue to build it because everything grows and expands, but where are you for the sake of because you think you have to, because the world presents itself this way, showing up inauthentically? You will win over time because none of these people last long. You will win over time if you can be consistent with the unsexy fundamentals that other people are not doing and they themselves will burn out over time, and you'll still be here like the engine that could, right? Podcasting is a prime example. That's what we teach in our Podcast Accelerator group coaching program. We always start with foundation first, which is grow yourself. It's always grow yourself for the first 4 weeks. We teach you core wounds, self-belief, self-worth, all the things, right? Because you're going where you're going. And then it's 4 weeks of podcast fundamentals. And one of the biggest things we teach people is how can you hold out for the long haul? How can you be longevity? Kevin and Alan are successful in the podcasting space because they're almost 2,500 episodes in. They've been doing it for years, and they have seen hundreds, if not thousands, of podcasts come and go. Very few podcasters make it past 50 episodes. A very small percent make it past 100. And then that's it. So if you, even yourself, Ryan, as a podcast, can stay for the long haul, can stay through the moments where it feels like it's not working, and keep doing the consistency behind the scenes and things, you will win out because you have humility to understand that these things take time. Everyone is selling these sexy things of do this and you'll have a $10,000 successful blah, blah, blah podcast in a week. No, you won't. Those are all bought in views, bought in things. Like, it's not there. True success that is sustainable and builds over time takes time. And if you're not willing to do it, then you're not going to get there. And I think there's just so much out there that's doing a disservice against social world versus real world things. And so we're deeply committed to transparency, candor, with love, always with love. We deeply believe in people and what they're doing in the world, but we deeply believe in heart-driven people and what they're doing. And we're trying to give them the fundamentals to win out over the showboat yahoos that are taking up the space.
Drop the mic, showboat yahoos. I love it. Yes. And I can attest to that. This is episode 161. Like, I've seen the
Congratulations.
seasons. Yes. Thank you. Well, and I don't even need that. Like, thank you. And like, I don't even need that because I've been through the seasons, like the roller coaster of it. And at the end of the day, like, I show up to this because I fucking love it.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. And, so like, find something that you can show up to, not need a gold star for, and just fucking still love it anyway. Check out nextleveluniverse.com with Alan, Kevin, Amy, and the amazing programs they have over there. Thank you so much for the work you're doing in the world, Amy, and for being here today.
Thank you for this beautiful conversation and the great questions that you're right, skilled at asking. I love it. Thank you.